Hello everyone, this is KK Matics, the solution to your mathematics. Today we'll be dealing with how to find the square root of an integer. So, before we go into this, it's important for us to note here that the method we are about to present here will only provide us the approximate form in one or two decimal places and sometimes three decimal places. However, it's very useful and helpful. So, let's consider the first method here, the first step. So the first step to consider is to find the closest perfect square to the number that is being square rooted or the integer that's being square rooted. The second thing is to subtract the closest perfect square from the integer that's being square rooted. And the third step is to multiply the closest perfect square number by 2. So this is all the steps or the method in finding the square root of an integer. Let's consider an example, make use of the steps here or method that we just stated. So we are to find the square root of 31 without using a calculator. The first step here, obviously solution. The first step is to find the closest perfect square. And that's what? The closest perfect square to 31 is 25. And why is that? The reason behind it is because when we consider one square, we know one square is 1, 2 squares 4, 3 squares 9, 4 squares 16, 5 squares 25, and we know that 6 square gives us 36. And obviously, the closest perfect square would be 25 because we know that 36 is bigger than 31. So the closest one would be 5 squared. So we have that to be 5 squared, which is 25. Now, the second step is for us to subtract the closest perfect square from the integer that is to be square rooted. And that's done by what? We subtract 25 out of 31 to give us 6. And that's what you see on your screen there. It's very important for us because now it's very important for us because that's we'll talk about why it's important for us. Now, the third step here is to multiply the closest perfect square by 2. And in multiplying the closest perfect square, which is 5 times 2, to give us what? 10. Okay, so we consider the 5, okay? The 5 as there, yeah? We know that that's what. So, in considering that, which is equal to 10, now we know that this, what we're going to do, the next step will be for us to add the 5, okay, add the 5 to what? Now we are going to add the 5, and when we add the 5 to 6 divided by 10. Now the second step is what we will regard as our numerator, and the third step is what we regard as our denominator, and that's what you see on your screen there. So as you see, the closest perfect square, which is the 5, is written there, and then it's also added to what you see on your screen there. The second step, which is what? The one that we subtracted, which is a 6, that becomes our numerator, and then third step, as you see on your screen there, it becomes the denominator, which is 10. So in considering all of this, this leads to having our answer to be 5.6. Yes, and as we said earlier on, this method actually presents or grants us the approximate form of the square root of the integer, okay, in one or two decimal places. And so obviously in this particular example, we notice that our answer is in one decimal place. That's good. Okay, so example 2 here. Now, find the square root of 50 without using calculator. Solution there. So the closest perfect square of 50 is 7. Okay, so since start is 7, because we said earlier on that 6 squared gives us what? It gives us 36, and 7 squared gives us 49, and we know that 8 squared is 64, and since 64 is bigger than 50, and not less than 50, we will not consider it. Rather, we'll consider the closest one, which is 7. 7 square. We know 7 square is 49. So 7 is the closest perfect square of 50. So we consider 7 here. So 7 square is 49. And the second thing is for us to subtract the 49 out of 50. And that gives us 1. And third thing here is to multiply 7 by 2. And that gives us 14. Yeah. And then by so doing, the next thing for us to do, we know that the next thing for us is to add 7 to this becomes our numerator and that becomes our denominator. So when we join this to that, it becomes a fraction. So that becomes 1 over 14. So then we have 7 plus 1 over 14, and that's illustrated there on your screen there. So the 49, the closest Bedford square, which is that's the 7, and then the subtraction that we did, that's a 1 that you see there, that's the numerator, and the multiplication that we did by 2, that's what the 14 that we see here, that's the denominator. And so the addition of all these things gives us 7.071. So try some of these examples at home and write the answers in the comment section. These are the examples I want you to try your hands on, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. Please remember to subscribe and like and share. Like it. If you seen this video, if you like this video, like it. Please like it. Please subscribe. God bless you. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is KK Matics, the solution to your mathematics. Bye for now.